In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police, who investigate crime, and the Crown prosecutors, who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
London, England, 10:30 p.m. A dark blue luxury sedan with its windows rolled up is parked in the breakdown lane at the northmost point of the Albert Bridge. Inside the car, two young men, each about 18 years of age, are trying to start the engine without the keys.
Don't you just push the button and then you're off?
I'm telling you, Josh's dad has one like this. You need the bloody fob to start it.
Well, it's not in there. I'll push it again.
If either man noticed the woman's purse lying on the ground near the car's front left tire, he does not mention it to his mate.
There's a knock at the window. Constable Brianna McNabb taps on the glass with her City of London police-issued LED torch. Her partner, Constable Duncan Reese, approaches on the passenger side.
Can we get a registration check on a vehicle, please? Over.
You the owner of this vehicle? Yes. No. It's my father's.
It is.
Do you mind stepping out of the vehicle for me? You two.
Can you confirm vehicle owner?
Go on.
Vehicle is registered to a Charlotte Leigh.
Oh, that's your dad's name, is it? No, didn't think so. Didn't do anything wrong. We were just looking after it for her. She went to get some petrol.
Constable McNabb spots something on the ground near the car's front bumper.
Leaving her purse behind.
Taken into custody, the two young suspects are charged with attempted motor vehicle theft. Detective Sergeant Ron Brooks arrives at the scene and is greeted by his partner, Sam Casey, who arrived just 10 minutes prior. But one important question remains. Where is the car's owner?
Charlotte Leigh, 40. DVLA gave an address in Richmond. Spoke to the husband. Bit frantic. Says he's got no idea where she is. Never gone missing before.
What about those two?
I don't reckon they found it unlocked and tried to start it. It's a keyless ignition. The fob's got to be in the car.
Yeah. And all the time it was sitting in a purse no more than 2 feet away. Why don't we check either end of the bridge, CCTV, to see if she went for a walk with anyone? Or
what?
Well, mate, look, it's a cold night. Her coat is still in the car. She dropped her purse there.
Pulling up the collar of his trench coat, Ronnie walks to the guardrail and looks down into the icy black water.
Maybe she went for a dip.
Using the address listed on the vehicle registration, investigators drive to the home residence of missing woman Charlotte Leigh.
Someone must have seen her. You got people looking for her, right?
Yeah, we have, but there's no sightings yet.
Detective Sam Casey interviews Sean Hart, Charlotte's current husband of about 2 years. A healthy, fit 38-year-old Irishman, Sean Hart stands 5'9", weighs about 180 pounds. Dark red hair in the form of crew cut and closely cropped beard.
When did you last see your wife?
This morning, before I went to work.
And you didn't see her at all this evening?
No. I went for a pint after I left site.
Casual but neat in appearance, Sean wears a freshly washed green polo shirt over black workout pants and plain white sneakers.
What do you do?
I'm a painter-decorator.
What time did you get home from the pub?
Be after midnight, I'd say.
You didn't think it was strange that your wife wasn't here when you got home?
Well, she works late the odd time. I just figured she was still at the office.
Where's that?
Over in Clapham. Charlie's a property developer. She throws work my way doing the places up.
Sean, was everything all right at work? No money worries, any problems?
Yeah, fine.
She wasn't anxious or depressed?
You don't think? I don't think she killed herself. No. She wouldn't.
Listen, mate, has anything like this ever happened before? Anything abnormal?
There was once, before my time, when she was still with Holly's dad. She took an overdose.
When was that?
That was years ago. She's fine now.
Meanwhile, downstairs in the kitchen, Detective Sergeant Ronnie Brooks interviews Charlotte's 16-year-old daughter, Holly. 5'5", 100 pounds, brown eyes, long brown hair.
I was, at a concert at school.
Her pajamas and pink sweatshirt mock the anguish on Holly's face.
And what time did you get back home?
I think it was about 9:30.
And was your mum here?
Where is Mum?
Well, that's what we're trying to find out, Holly.
Well, I could help. I could go out looking for her.
I think your mum would want you here when she got back home, don't you? Did your mum mention to you about going out or maybe going to meet someone?
No, nothing. I don't know. What's happened to her? Mummy's going to come back, isn't she?
Okay.
Well,
that's enough.
Stepfather Sean Hart enters the kitchen, puts a hand on Holly's shoulder, and softly but firmly calls a halt to Detective's questioning.
It's okay.
Detective Sergeants Ron Brooks and Sam Casey are back at Murder Investigation Unit, MIU, briefing their immediate supervisor, Detective Inspector Wes Layton, on the missing woman Charlotte Leigh.
we've had patrols in Thames out all night looking for her. Contacted the hospitals, nothing yet.
No note?
Well, no.
Maybe she wasn't planning on leaving. She's a property developer. There's plenty of money involved.
Don't tell me we're dealing with a kidnapping.
Well, there's no evidence of that. We've had no card activity since yesterday morning and no ransom note, so...
That we know of. I mean, it could be that the husband didn't want to tell us.
She's attempted suicide once before, right?
Yeah.
Let me find her car abandoned on Albert Bridge. Any joy from the CCTV?
Nope. There's no cameras on the bridge.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, look, why don't we just ask around her close friends, eh? See what we can find out about Charlotte Leigh.
In the elegant living room of longtime family friend Sarah Hayes, the attractive blonde 40-something offers detectives tea, then sits down on her couch, leaning forward as she speaks, and tells Ron and Sam what she knows about her missing friend, Charlotte Leigh.
I saw Charlotte last week. She was planning a trip to France in the summer. She already booked a house. She wasn't planning on killing herself.
A couple of years ago, she took an overdose.
Charlotte was on a course of painkillers. She was under a lot of stress. She double-dosed by accident. Jess?
Rising to stand about 5'7", Sarah looks toward the front door.
Hello, darling. Hi. How was school?
Fine.
An obvious family resemblance, Sarah's 16-year-old daughter Jess has brown eyes and long brown hair, currently pinned up with barrettes.
Darling, these are the police.
Hello.
Hi. Did you get my text about Charlotte?
Yeah. Everyone was talking about it.
Standing 5'6", Jess Hayes wears a black peacoat over a school uniform with low heels. The same uniform her best friend Holly Leigh would have worn if she had been at school today.
Have you spoken to her?
No, she wasn't in. Can I go? I've got a ton of revision.
Yeah, of course.
Did Charlotte mention anything? Any problems lately?
You've spoken to her ex?
No, we haven't.
Richard McGrath. To say he's a drunken, violent pig would be unfair to pigs.
He hit her?
That's why she was on the painkillers.
Resting elbows on knees, Sarah holds her mug, mostly to warm her hands.
That bastard fractured her jaw. It was only for Holly's sake that she finally had the courage to leave him.
Did she know that he was violent?
Yeah, she knew.
And does Holly still see her father?
She started seeing him without telling Charlotte. I had to pick her up from there once.
Where was that?
He's got a flat in Battersea. You know, near the bridge?
The two detectives stop for lunch, and Sam Casey takes a phone call from MIU. Having run the histories of both husbands through the system, Ange says Sean Hart and Richard McGrath each have a clean record. No charges, no arrests.
When was the last time you saw your ex-wife, Mr. McGrath?
Last weekend. I'd been a good boy, and she'd granted me permission to see my own daughter for an hour, supervised.
Don't exactly sound happy about that situation.
Do you have kids?
Yes, I do.
How would you feel? Happy?
42-year-old Richard McGrath stands 5'10", 240 pounds. Short brown hair, business haircut, clean-shaven, weary face. Richard McGrath's powder blue button-down shirt is open collar with no necktie. He wears dark gray slacks and plain black leather shoes.
And you haven't seen or spoken to your ex-wife since?
We spoke last night. Holly wasn't answering her phone, so she called me in a panic, as usual, accusing me, assuming she was here.
Was she?
No. She said she was at a school concert, and I believed her.
What time did you receive that call?
McGrath pulls out his smartphone, taps it a few times,
8:27.
and shows Ronnie the screen.
And where were you the rest of the night?
Gatwick Airport. Cab picked me up at 9. I've got a job on site in Edinburgh. I had to meet the contractor first thing.
And what is it you do for a living? You painter and decorator as well?
No, I'm an architect. That's how Charlotte and I met. She bought the properties, I did the schemes. Until we split up, and then she turfed me out.
Detectives Brooks and Casey visit the offices of Leigh and Cohen Properties. An entrepreneur of Japanese descent with a tall, athletic build, 50-year-old Sophie Cohen wears professional black business dress, black leggings, black heels. As she walks briskly to her desk with Ronnie and Sam hurrying to keep up, Sophie Cohen tells detectives about her direct personal experience with Richard McGrath.
He was pretty useless even when he worked here, to be honest.
And since then?
Complete and utter nightmare.
How so?
Always barging in here unannounced. Please. I begged her to get a restraining order. She was always too afraid of his reaction, though.
Has he been here recently?
Last week, Charlotte had been trying to help him seek treatment as a condition of access to Holly. The cleaner he got, the more he could see her. Look, I hope I'm wrong, but it really wouldn't surprise me if he had something to do with this, especially since the arrest.
The arrest?
He was arrested for assault, like, just a few weeks ago. Aren't you guys supposed to know stuff like that already?
Yes, we are.
When Brooks and Casey return to MIU, Ange has located a recording of an emergency call to police dispatch. Charlotte Leigh is terrified of her attacker, ex-husband Richard McGrath.
Please, hurry, please. It's okay, Charlotte. It's been dispatched and it's on its way to you. It'll be with you in 5 minutes. Just stay with me. Give me the phone. Richard, no! Charlotte?
And that's where it ends.
Thankfully. So, look, at least we've got it now, though, eh?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Human error. Won't happen again.
Don't worry, Ange. It's all good, thanks.
She refused to make a statement.
Yeah, frightened of making him worse, apparently.
Right, Ange, what were McGrath's movements the night Charlotte Leigh disappeared, please?
She called him at 8:27 p.m. Call lasted for 8 minutes.
Okay.
Then a car picked him up for the airport at 9, and we have him on a flight to Edinburgh that evening.
Okay, well, that's enough time.
For what?
Well, she called him, looking for their daughter.
She gets there, he's drunk, they argue.
He hits her too hard.
Dumps her body, makes it look like suicide, all within 25 minutes. Lads, that is too tight. Just because he's got a drink problem, Wes, does not make him a murderer.
No, I agree with that, but come on, you heard what I just heard. It's worth checking.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. We haven't got a body.
We have now.
The shoreline of the River Thames is not designed for vehicle parking, and to get to the body of Charlotte Leigh, detectives Brooks, Casey, and Layton make a 20-minute hike across cold, disagreeable terrain.
I'm getting too old for this. Come on.
It's better than being stuck indoors all the time. It's like the old days there, Ronnie.
Well, Ange was right about something. We've definitely got ourselves a body.
Cause of death, acute intracerebral hemorrhage.
In the autopsy room, detectives confer with medical examiner Dr. Lily Blackwell.
Compound fracture of the occipital bone.
It's a whack on the back of the head to me and you.
Jumping off the bridge.
Unlikely. If she'd hit her head on the way down, given the speed of the impact, I wouldn't expect there to be much skull left.
Nice.
I've examined the lungs. There's no distension, and the airways are clear.
Meaning?
She didn't drown. She was dead before she hit the water.
MIU Central Headquarters. Primary suspect Richard McGrath is brought in for questioning. Interview room number 41.
I've told you. She was screaming at me down the phone, accusing me of having Holly there without her permission. All her usual paranoid bullshit.
So is that why you assaulted her early this month?
She virtually had me pissing in a cup before I could see my own daughter. I snapped, okay? I lost my temper.
Did you lose your temper the other night? You know, when she came round.
Very funny. She never came round. She wouldn't have been welcome if she did. She hasn't ever set foot inside my place, but you know that already, don't you? Forensics have been all over it.
She's taken away your job, your home, your daughter, basically your whole life. So, Mr. McGrath, you must be pretty bitter, I guess.
Yeah, of course I'm bitter. So are plenty of divorced fathers.
Well, you can see how this looks. You have a drink problem that's completely out of control, a history of violence. With your wife gone, you would have sole custody of your daughter.
Yeah. A daughter whose mother's dead. How's that for a parenting strategy?
At the Thames Embankment Hammersmith, Whiskey 6, Ronnie Brooks and Sam Casey speak with Sergeant Andy McIntyre of the Specialist Search and Rescue Team.
We pulled the body out over there. It's on the map, that's Hammersmith Bridge. And you think she went in at Albert Bridge?
Well, that's where her car was found, yeah.
It'd be unusual for a body to travel upstream at that time.
But not impossible.
Well, no. Most likely, she was dumped to the west. Kew, Richmond, maybe.
And who do we know who lives in Richmond?
Yeah. Sean, Holly and Charlotte. You know what, Sam? Wes might not like it, but I think I'm right. No way would McGrath have enough time to kill Charlotte Leigh at his place in Battersea, then drive the body in her car over to Richmond, dump the car at the Albert Bridge, get back to his place in Battersea to pick up a cab for 9 o'clock to get him to the airport.
Not within half an hour, no.
And yet Charlotte Leigh went into the river 2 minutes from her own home. So, who helped her off that bridge?
A search warrant is issued, and forensic personnel comb through the house of the deceased, Charlotte Leigh. As the search is being conducted, Ron Brooks interviews daughter Holly Leigh, this time under the protective watch of family friend Sarah Hayes, who has become de facto godmother to Holly.
You say you were at a school concert, and did your mum drop you off there?
No, Kim drove me.
Kim?
My nanny.
Right. You have a nanny?
Charlotte liked her to be here after school, so Holly wasn't alone.
So did Kim pick you up and bring you back?
No, I wasn't feeling well, so I left early. I got the bus back.
So you didn't phone your mum to be picked up then? What about your dad? Did you speak to him?
No.
Or what about your stepfather, Sean?
No, I didn't speak to anyone.
Do we have to do this now?
I know this is difficult. It's just that Sean told us that when he got home, at around midnight, your mum wasn't here. So you have to understand, as far as we're concerned, you were probably the last person to see your mum alive. Holly?
I didn't actually see her.
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
I didn't see her.
What, she wasn't here?
I don't know. The lights were on. I thought she was.
So when you came in, you didn't call out to her hello or pop your head in the room and see if she was about? And why didn't you do that? Was that because of your dad?
We'd had this massive fight before I went out. I couldn't cope with part 2 when I got back. She said she hated him, so I said I wish she was dead. Why did I say that?
Detectives drive to Waterloo, where, on the Belvedere Street walkway beneath the Waterloo Bridge, they catch up with Holly's nanny, 23-year-old Kim Dunsworth.
How long have you been with the family, Kim?
About 3 years. It was just as Richard and Charlotte were breaking up. Got pretty ugly at times.
5'8", about 120 pounds, Kim wears her blonde hair in a bun well above the collar of her dark blue ski jacket. The 23-year-old student wears black workout leggings over pink running shoes.
What about the new husband, Sean? Any ugly moments with him recently?
Well, just like any other couple, you know.
Kim drops the backpack at her feet and stoops to unlock her 18-speed mountain bike.
Nothing major, but they argued sometimes, yeah.
What about?
I'm not sure whether I should say this. It feels a bit wrong, but Charlotte could be quite hard work. She treated him a bit like an employee, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
She even gave him an allowance. I honestly don't know what he was doing with her. He could have done so much better.
She stows her bike lock, puts on her backpack, and begins walking her bicycle as she speaks.
Well, Kim, the night Charlotte was killed, Holly said that you dropped her at the school concert, that's right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But you didn't stay, no?
No. Holly was getting a lift back with her friend Jess. Charlotte said I could go home.
Well, Sean said that when he got back, Holly was on her own. Considering how protective Charlotte is, seems a bit odd, don't you think?
It's kind of weird, yeah. Charlotte would never leave her at home alone. But if Sean said that's what happened, then it must be. Look, I really have to go. I'm already late.
OK, well, thanks for your help.
Looks like the pretty nanny's got a crush on the handsome husband.
Yeah. Bloke's like catnip as well, isn't he? I wonder what his alibi's like. What do you reckon?
Well, before he went to the pub, he said he was working overtime with Eddie Markham.
Sean Hart's nephew, Eddie Markham, stands 6'1", weighs 280 pounds, and wears a New Zealand rugby shirt. Incongruous with his imposing stature, Eddie has the sheepish disposition of a little boy on his first day at a new school.
I don't want no trouble, like. My Uncle Sean's a good fella. Lets me crash here till I find my own place.
This is Sean's flat?
It is, yeah. He's letting me stay here for nothing as well.
That's decent of him.
Does Sean pop by often?
He keeps his painting stuff here, out in the yard.
Detective Casey uses a pen to lift a pair of purple panties off of Sean's bed.
Does he keep anything else here? Or
exchanging a mano wink with Eddie.
He's yours.
Oh, man. That's nothing to do with me at all.
No?
So what's the story, Eddie? Meet a lot of bored housewives in this trade, do you?
Not me.
But Sean takes advantage.
Oh, come on, lads. All right, he's my uncle, yeah? He's doing me a favour here.
Well, we could always continue this conversation down the station.
We'll even ring your boss, tell him you're going to be late.
No, okay, right. That's nothing bad, like. But yeah, sometimes Sean gives me the nod and I have to make myself scarce, you get me?
Who says romance is dead, eh?
Who's the latest?
Well, I don't know her name. Last week I seen this lass heading in here when I was pulling up.
What's she look like?
You know, that cute. Long brown hair. Quite young.
Sean said you were working all evening Tuesday together, is that right?
Yeah, we were meant to be, but after a bit, Sean got a call. Said he had to go.
Did he say where?
No. Just said it was personal.
After leaving Eddie at Sean's rented flat, detectives stop at a takeaway for a quick bite to eat. Ronnie Brooks sits behind the steering wheel awaiting his partner, who finally returns with grilled meat sandwiches.
Yeah, mate. Lovely. Cheers. Sean Hart told us he went to the pub after work, right?
Yeah, Quinn's.
Well, he lied about working late, so why don't we see if he lied to us about going to the pub and all?
At Quinn's pub, bartender Dennis Porter wipes down the bar as he speaks with detectives Brooks and Casey.
Sean's a regular here.
So he was definitely in here that night?
Came in just before the bell.
How did he seem?
All right, I suppose. Sat at the bar, had a couple of whiskies. Maybe he was hiding from the wife, you know. I didn't ask.
What time did he leave?
About midnight, I'd say. I was locked up by then. I let him out the back. He was parked out there. Said he had some stuff for the bins.
What stuff?
From work, I imagine.
Would you mind if we take a look?
Help yourself.
So?
But the bins were empty this morning.
Back at MIU headquarters, Ronnie and Sam brief their boss, Detective Inspector Wes Layton.
Whatever it was, it is now long gone. It's a landfill site in Essex.
You know what I wish, Rob?
What?
I wish I had the resources to go searching landfill, but...
Don't tell me your hands are tied.
Yeah, welcome to my world. I've already got the ex-husband making an official complaint. I don't need the current one doing the same thing.
Gov, we could have a potential lead here with this husband.
Sam, with respect, what you've got is some guy who may or may not have put something in a bin. It's not enough.
Ange rushes in enthusiastically.
Sorry. Forensics room from the Leigh house.
Someone had a real go at cleaning up here. but we found a faint patch of blood on the rug near the kitchen. Again here, an attempted clean-up, but we found traces of blood protein all around the kitchen area, on the grouting, on the base of the tap, and in the trap of the sink.
Recent?
Difficult to say exactly, but we know who it belongs to.
Charlotte Leigh?
Yes.
Right. Well, let's see if her husband can explain what it's doing there.
Sean Hart is brought in for questioning as a person of interest.
I may have played around, but he did not kill my wife. That's pure madness, and you know it. Otherwise, you'd have arrested me already.
What did you dump in the bins outside the pub?
Just some old dust sheets. I cleared it with Jed. Are you getting me for fly tipping?
But we know you lied about working late. Your nephew said you left him to it, so where'd you go?
I was on another job, a bit of private work. I didn't want the contractor taking his cut. Look, I tried to pull a fast one there. I hold my hands up to that. I didn't tell Eddie, God bless him, because he'd only let it slip. You've seen what he's like.
We have. He likes to talk. Told us about the girl he saw going into your flat last week.
Yeah. Was that a bit extra on the side too?
It was Holly. Something you need to know about that girl.
Really? What's that?
She's made life very difficult. Didn't want it to come to this. She's obsessed with me. The poor girl reckons she's in love.
MIU headquarters, interview room number 11. Detective Sergeants Brooks and Casey meet with Holly Leigh in the presence of her natural father, Richard McGrath.
Still haven't found out who killed Mum. He's still out there.
It's okay, Holly. No one's going to hurt you. We're getting closer.
Is that why you're talking to Sean? Do you think he's got something to do with it?
Sean lied to us. Sean was lying to your mother. He was cheating on her.
Two-faced bastard.
Dad, don't, please.
Holly, did Sean ever threaten you at all?
What is it, Holly? You scared of him? Holly?
You said that you'd left the school concert early and then went straight home. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I went home to get changed out my uniform.
Then what happened?
I didn't want to stay at home. I went round to yours, but you weren't there. Let myself in, sorry.
It's all right. You know you're always welcome. Why didn't you call me?
Holly, did anyone else see you at your dad's house?
I don't think so. I just watched TV for a few hours.
And why didn't you want to go back to your own home?
Mum was out working late, and I thought Sean might come back.
Okay, and?
I was scared to be... I was scared to be on my own with him. He's been trying... He's been coming on to me. I didn't let him. Please tell me not to say anything, Dad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
At the Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, Detective Sergeant Ron Brooks hands the case over to Crown Prosecutors Jacob Thorne and Kate Barker.
So, she's accusing him of grooming her, and he's saying she was obsessed with him. Either way, Mum ends up in the Thames.
Yeah.
Arrest them both on suspicion of murder and see whose story cracks first.
What, you really think she's capable of killing her own mother over a man?
Well, what we have suggests that Charlotte Leigh was killed in the kitchen.
But there's nothing hard to link either of them to the murder.
Oh, I hate to say it, but the girl's alibi is not the strongest I've heard, that's for sure.
And she matches the description of the girl seen going into Hart's flat.
Well, that could be anyone. He's admitted to being a ladies' man, so...
Have you been to her school? Spoken to her mates?
Not yet.
Well, you should. Girls talk.
Seeking out friends of Holly Leigh, Ronnie Brooks and Sam Casey drive to Newfield High School and check in with the dean, Edmund Crisk.
Can you tell us anything about Holly before this?
She came through a difficult time when her parents divorced. Holly's a bright young thing.
Though I've noticed her marks are not what they were, which is a cause for concern.
I can imagine. But the night of the concert, Mr. Crossley?
The girls performed a recital. Several pieces I'd written myself.
Can we keep these, please?
Of course. It actually went rather well.
And Holly, did she play a part in the concert herself?
She plays the flute.
But she left early, yeah?
Yes. When I went to collect her for her solo, Jess informed me the young girl had been taken unwell, so I had to carry on without her, sadly.
You say Jess, is that Jess Hayes?
Yes.
With the approval of Dean Crisk, detectives interview his student, Jess Hayes, in the presence of her mother, Sarah Hayes.
It wasn't a lie. She was in the toilets and she did leave early. I don't want her to get into trouble.
Darling, just tell the truth. It's okay.
Have you spoken to Holly about that night?
No, but I tried to. She wasn't answering her phone.
She never said where she was going.
Not to me. Home, I assumed.
Didn't mention to you about meeting anyone, maybe a boyfriend?
No, boyfriends were strictly off limits. As far as her mum was concerned.
Why's that?
Some boy liked one of Holly's profile pictures once. Her mum went round to his parents' house and totally freaked. That was pretty typical.
Jess,
what's the truth?
And how was Holly, Jess? Her reaction to her mum going round to the boy's house regarding the photographs, was she angry?
No, she was scared of her. I used to tell her she ought to stick up for herself.
You say you used to?
She got defensive. Told me to mind my own business.
Detectives conclude the interview and thank everyone for their help. Then, walking out to their unmarked squad car, the two cops compare notes.
On the night, Holly left here wearing her school uniform.
Yeah, but forensics took it in already. It's clean.
But maybe she had another one. See, when my girls were at school, they always had a spare uniform. We need to sweep that house again, just in case we miss something first time around.
At the forensic pathology lab, Dr. Liz Booth reveals some alarming news.
I mean, someone should have their knuckles wrapped for missing this.
You reckon? That was found in a carrier bag under a bed.
There's blood all over it.
Is it a match for the victims?
Yes.
And given what her mate said about how she felt about her own mother, she sounds like a ticking bomb.
No, look, that just doesn't feel right, Sam.
Why? They were competing for the same man.
She just couldn't have done it on her own. It's okay, I'm dealing with her.
Suspect Sean Hart is on his smartphone when he is approached by detectives Brooks and Casey.
I'll see you later. I'm afraid you won't. Unless that's a solicitor. You're under arrest.
Architect Richard McGrath is walking his daughter Holly Leigh out of Newfield High School when detectives approach.
Holly Leigh?
What now?
I'm arresting you on suspicion of the murder of Charlotte Leigh.
What?
You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention one question. Something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given...
Standing in the distance, student Jess Hayes watches in shock as her best friend Holly is arrested for murder and placed in the back of a police squad car. At the CPS, Crown Prosecution Service, barristers Jacob Thorne and Kate Barker watch the police interview video of their primary murder suspect, a tearful 16-year-old Holly Leigh.
Why won't you believe me?
She's pretty convincing. Jury might think so too.
When would they hear that she was infatuated with her mother's husband?
Yeah, on his say-so. Defence will say that we should be sympathising with this girl. She's the victim in all this.
How?
A terrified schoolgirl, groomed and abused by her stepfather.
With her mother's blood splattered across her school jumper.
So?
So it suggests she was there.
Her jumper was there. And she did say she got changed before she went to her dad's.
He's dressing up as a schoolgirl too now, is he?
He must have helped her.
There isn't enough evidence to support that. I won't enjoy putting away a 16-year-old girl, but if the jury decides she's guilty, then we'll have done our job properly.
Senior Crown Prosecutor Henry Sharp enters the room.
Ronnie's been in touch. Sean Hart is ready to talk. He's admitting to assisting, but not murder.
At the Murder Investigation Unit, interview room 18-0, the suspect being questioned is Holly's stepfather, Sean Hart. The 38-year-old painter-decorator is represented by counsel, Clara Nguyen, sitting on Sean's right.
Holly's very immature for her age. Like I told you before, she has this insane schoolgirl crush.
Once again, barristers Jacob Thorne and Kate Barker are watching a police interview on a video monitor.
He's selling her out.
But this time the interview is live, taking place in the next room.
I thought if I just ignored it would go away, but just getting out of control. I tried to let her down gently, but she took the rejection hard, screaming at me, threatening to tell Charlotte I'd abused her. She was so angry. I had no choice but to tell Charlotte myself after I left the site while Holly was still out.
Okay, and how did Charlotte react?
Well, how do you think? She was devastated. Then Holly came home early in the middle of it and things really kicked off. Screaming at each other, all sorts been said about the ex and that. I thought it's best just to get out.
So you left?
Well, I had to. I went back to work. I couldn't face going home, so I went down to the pub after to drown my sorrows. And when I got back...
Sorry. It's okay. Take your time.
So, you got back home? What happened?
Holly was in the room, sobbing. I don't think she meant to kill her.
You said that whilst this fight was happening at the house, you were moonlighting on another job at 88 Welford Road, yeah?
That's right.
Any witnesses?
There was someone there who can prove I'm telling you the truth. I didn't want to drag her into it.
Her? Mr. Hart?
Jess.
Jackets and umbrellas in hand, prosecutors collect their briefcases and Ronnie walks them out to the parking lot.
I think he's hanging Holly out to dry.
But her best friend's provided an alibi for him.
Putting Jess on the stand will show it's not in Sean's character to do something like this, whereas Holly had a turbulent relationship with her mother, no alibi to speak of, and forensic evidence pointing directly to her. I'm not saying I like it, Ronnie, but we proceed with charging him with assisting an offender and Holly with murder.
Crown versus Leigh, trial day 1. Crown prosecutor Jacob Thorne questions Holly's friend, Jess Hayes, on the stand.
Would you say that your friend had a good relationship with her mother?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they argued sometimes, like anyone does.
Do you know what these arguments were about?
She'd get pretty angry with how controlling she was. She was checking her phone and stuff. She was obsessed with knowing if she had a boyfriend.
Did Holly have a boyfriend?
Not that I know of, no.
What was the relationship between Holly and Mr. Hart like?
Good, as far as I knew. Until all this happened.
On the night Charlotte Leigh died, what did you do after the concert at school?
I went to see Sean.
Why was that? Miss Hayes, why did you meet with Mr. Hart that evening?
It was about my mum and dad.
In what way?
Well, since they, separated, I just missed having my dad around.
Was there a reason you didn't mention this to the police earlier?
I didn't want my mum to know.
Holly's stepfather, Sean Hart, takes the stand and is questioned by Crown Prosecutor Jacob Thorne.
Would you say you're a father figure to Holly?
I loved her like she was my own daughter since her own father left her.
You say she became fixated. How did this manifest itself?
It started with love notes and that, you know. left in my jacket pocket. I laughed it off. I thought it was just a schoolgirl crush thing. It'd pass.
And did it pass?
No, it got worse.
On the evening your wife was killed, you told her about Holly's behaviour.
Yeah, I had to.
And how did she react?
Well, she was upset, as you might imagine. Then Holly arrived home and it just exploded.
What happened then?
Well, with the two of them screaming at each other, I had to get out of there.
Holly sits in the dock, silently shaking her head, crying as she listens to Sean Hart's sworn testimony.
I thought telling Charlotte would help resolve it. I never imagined it would end in such tragedy.
And when you arrived home later that evening, where was your wife?
I found Charlotte lying on the kitchen floor.
In the gallery, family friends Sarah Hayes and her daughter Jess sit together watching the trial unfold. But Sarah senses something else is bothering her daughter.
You okay?
And where was Holly?
I found her in a room. She was shaking.
What did you say to her?
I asked her what had happened. She just kept saying, I didn't mean to. No! I'm sorry.
Direct your answers to the jury, please, Mr. Hart.
She said they fought. She pushed her mother. She fell back, hit her head.
Why didn't you call 999?
I tried to. Holly started screaming at me. She said if I didn't help her, she'd say I did it.
Did you help dispose of the body in the River Thames and try to make it look like suicide?
Yes. I did. I panicked. I thought all this was my fault. If I hadn't have said anything.
That is all. Thank you, Mr. Hart.
In the case of Crown versus Leigh, the accused, Holly Leigh, takes the stand and testifies.
It started with little things. He'd sit too close to me on the sofa or walk in when I was getting changed accidentally. Then he started giving me what he called his daddy bear cuddles. Even when I told him it made me feel uncomfortable, he'd always find a way to get me on my own.
And why didn't you tell anyone?
I don't know, I guess I just thought that if I ignored it, he'd get bored and leave me alone.
And did he?
He tried to give me money. He said I should go and buy some underwear that my mum wouldn't approve of now that I was getting all grown up. He kept making jokes about me turning 16. It made me feel sick.
When you rejected Mr. Hart, what was his response?
Angry. He said that if I didn't want to be his special girl, then he'd find someone who did.
Looking as if she's about to be sick, Jess Hayes discreetly gets up and leaves the courtroom. Ronnie Brooks quietly follows Jess outside.
On the night in question, you were performing in a school concert while your mother was working late.
Yeah, I had to leave early.
Where did you go?
I went home to get changed. I didn't want to stay there, so I went over to my dad's. I forgot he was away on business. So I just sat in his flat, so I could face going home.
And what happened when you arrived home?
It was quiet. The lights were on, so I assumed Mum was back. I didn't want to see anyone, so I just went straight upstairs.
When did you hear that your mother was missing?
The police arrived. About 1, I think. Sean woke me and told me. thinking that I was going to wake up. Mum will be there and she'll give me a hug and tell me it's going to be okay. All this will be over, just like a nightmare. Why is he doing this? I don't understand.
Out in the hallway, Detective Ronnie Brooks has no trouble locating the distraught teen sitting on the bottom few steps of a blue-carpeted stairway.
Everything all right?
Emotionally drained, Jess Hayes sits resting elbows on knees, holding her smartphone mostly just for the comfort of something to hold.
Signal's rubbish here, eh? Must be hard for you, Jess. Seeing what this is doing to Holly, you being such good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Harder for her, of course, losing her mum. And now looking like she's going to prison for it.
Prison?
Well, young offenders institution for the first year or so. Bit of solitary. Not very nice, I have to admit. Nasty. But on her 18th birthday, she'll get to go to an adult prison, so...
But she's gonna get off, isn't she?
Not unless you can help. See, this is very serious, Jess, you know that, don't you? The rest of your friend's life's at stake here. So if there's anything else you can remember about that night, anything at all...
I don't know what you mean.
I think you do. I saw your reaction in the court. You know that Holly's telling the truth, don't you? Because you've heard those lines from Sean yourself before, haven't you? Jess, whatever he's promised you, you've now seen what he's really capable of. You could be next.
It wasn't Holly's fault.
In your earlier evidence, you said that you phoned Sean Hart and then went to meet him at his place of work. You wanted to talk over your parents' recent divorce. Is that correct?
Partly.
Which part?
Well, I did call Sean, but he told me to go to the house. He said Charlotte was out and we could be alone.
Not to talk about your parents?
No. No, we'd been seeing each other.
Seeing?
Sleeping together.
So, you went to the Leigh home that evening and had sex with Sean Hart?
Yes. But it wasn't how you make it sound.
How do I make it sound?
It's sort of dirty. It wasn't like that. Sean was different. He was kind and gentle. He called me a special girl.
Holly Leigh winces when her friend repeats Sean's vile, yet recognizable turns of speech.
But it all went wrong. Mrs. Leigh came home and we were in the kitchen. You know.
She walked in on you having sex in the kitchen.
The girl nods and continues speaking.
She went mental. Started screaming, calling him names. She said she was going to call the police and that Sean would go to prison.
And with that, the witness, Sean Hart, gets up and goes for the exit. But with a nod from the judge, an alert bailiff, Constable Wilfred Phillips blocks his escape and detains Sean Hart for questioning.
How did he react to that?
He tried to calm her down. But she started hitting him and she was just screaming so loud.
As her friend testifies under oath and reveals the horrific truth, the accused, Holly Leigh, stares into space, exhausted.
And then he punched her. He just threw her. And she cracked her head hard. Made horrible sound. She was just lying there. She wasn't moving.
What did Mr. Hart do? Did he call an ambulance?
No. Now he told me to shut up because I was crying. He got this big sheet from his van. He wrapped her up in it. He said it was gonna make it look like she did it herself. That she tried it before, he said. He even used one of Holly's school jumpers to clear up some of the blood.
Why didn't you call the police?
He said if anyone found out, we'd both go to prison. That we wouldn't be together. He said if I told anyone, I'd never see him again. I couldn't bear that. It wasn't meant to get this far. It wasn't meant to be Holly. No one would believe she could do that.
Out in the corridor of the courthouse, detectives Ron Brooks and Sam Casey meet up with prosecutors Jacob Thorne and Kate Barker.
Sean Hart's been taken into custody, charged with murder.
Along with Jess Hayes.
Where's Holly?
She's free to go.
Free. She's lost everything she ever cared about.
They look compassionately at the traumatized young woman leaving the courthouse.
Her mother did everything she could to protect that child from danger and led it into her own home.
Londoner Chris Jones has a tricky search looking for his sister, who he last saw when she was a baby. Davina McCall and Nikki Campbell are back with Long Lost Family tomorrow night at 9. Unlocking some of the hidden treasures of this great capital of ours, join Stephen Fry as he uncovers some of London's secrets when he gets given the key to the city. That's Tuesday night at 9. Stay with us, the news is next.